Hello again, this is Greg Lay with Menticultura.com, and I'm just picking up from the second video, and that's where we ask the question whether or not a speculative education is advantageous for getting through life on a daily basis. And I'm going to highlight that with a text that I was exposed to many years ago from Aristotle. It's his book on the parts of animals. And this text is the very first paragraph, and I have a translation here, which I did in order to not violate the Google copyright infringements, which I think are wise. But please, if you have a chance to look at some other translations, please do. Okay, so here's what I have. Aristotle writes, "Concerning all speculation and method, whether very humble or also most honorable, there seems to be two modes of aptitude, of which one is having a rightly founded actual knowledge, and the other as a certain familiarity. For someone who has been educated to a certain degree is able to judge directly whether another person is stating a case well or not. For indeed we think that kind of person to be generally educated, and to be educated to that level is to be able to reach specific conclusions. Moreover, we think someone who states judgments about all things to be generally educated, and anyone else who grasps particular judgments not, but rather a specialist." So with this text, I think it pertains very immediately to the experience that we have today, where in education, in order to get a job, you have to go to college, and you can't just be satisfied with getting a liberal arts degree. You have to choose a specific course and get a degree in whether it's pharmaceutical, pharmacy tech, or if it's if you're going to go on to medicine, you have to choose which branch of medicine. You can't just do a general expertise in medicine. It has to be aimed at one of the bodily organs. Whether it's communications, it's all sorts of choices that they present to you as far as what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. The irony, of course, is that not too many companies keep their employees hired on for an extended period of time. But in any case, what Aristotle is highlighting here is if you have a general education, which was originally called the liberal arts, and it was broken into two fields, the Trivium and the Quadrivium, and we're focusing on logic, so that would be found in the Trivium. And by means of studying these arts, you became free from the opinions of others. You were able to freely think for yourself, because what it did is it strengthened the intellect, and it allowed you to weigh whether or not something that somebody said had any value for you, or any value in and of itself. It also allowed people who looked at nature, and obviously we live within an environment, very important to find out the movements of nature, especially if you're a farmer. It was able to such a course of studies was able to help people to look deep within nature and find some of the mysteries that were hidden before. Now, it's important to look at how we have found ourselves today, where we found ourselves in a global economy which is on a downtrend. And that was done because many people thought, well, I'm spending $2,000 a month on rent, why not spend $2,000 on a mortgage? And even though the rate is adjustable, I can always refinance. Well, you were told that by somebody who had something to sell, so they can make a bonus on that. And they were telling you what you wanted to hear, but they weren't giving you the whole story. Having such an education where your mind has been trained in grammar and logic and in rhetoric and geometry, arithmetic, even music and astronomy like they did 2 millennia ago, benefits us from being told something that's just not going to be true and should be able to be discovered on the face of it. Look at it this way. When you're studying something that seems to have no relevance to your daily life, look at going into a gym and exercising your muscles. You see probably the most famous of the different routines is the bench press, where you're lying on your back and you're forcing weights up into the air. Now, in real life, you're probably never going to use your muscles in that fashion unless you get trapped underneath a car, for example. But you do use your muscles to, if you're especially a construction worker or somebody who does something strenuous, you might, be pushing a car that's run out of gas, but you're going to be doing that in a standing fashion. But just because you are trained pushing weights from your back doesn't mean you cannot push a car forward when you're standing upright. And so it is with the arts and the sciences, the traditional liberal arts. Just because you are studying whether or not it's that two objects that are equal added to one another are going to have results that are equal, or as the axiom states in Euclid. I don't think I explained it fully just then, but in any case, my point being that just because you're studying something that doesn't seem to have an immediate result, for example, just thinking about the motion of the stars doesn't put bread on your table. It doesn't bring in the next paycheck. But it does put your mind in a position of strength so you can see whether or not somebody is that you're dealing with in business is actually giving you the actual presentation of what he's offering rather than something he wants you to believe, and he's going to get the advantage ultimately. So what I recommend is going back millennia, going back to what the ancients had discovered as the most, I guess you could look at maybe there's another way to go about the arts today, but what they looked at back then were the arts that proved to be beneficial to the mind, to help it to grow strong. And once the mind, just like when you're in the gym, and maybe you started off and you're skinny, all of a sudden, your body's growing and you're full of testosterone or whatever, all of a sudden you kind of feel like you're a very strong guy or tough guy, and you're not afraid of anybody anymore. Well, there's probably some people you should be afraid of, but some people that you were afraid of before you no longer are. And so it is with the intellectual exercises that the liberal arts provide you. Back when you were being presented the option of maybe taking an adjustable rate mortgage, you might have been afraid to sound stupid if you objected to it, or if you asked too many questions. You felt that, because the person selling you that bill of goods was going to frown or make you sound, silly, you didn't say anything. You didn't speak up for yourself. And once you do train your mind through these arts, you're going to have a certain boldness so you can stand up for yourself, and so that you don't ultimately have someone thinking for yourself, which is the most important feature of those arts.